careful with her, would you? And, pie.
Thanks for saving me from the Chuck Norris marathon with the snack run, Carly.
No problem.
Don't get me wrong. Sharing a motel room with him after a hunt is an awesome way to celebrate. But the man's choice in movies is iffy, even on a good day.
What about mine? Digging into the law was not my idea of downtime after we cleaned out that nest. I'm coming back with nothing even remotely close to natural in it. Besides, you know I'm itching to take the wheel without your Mr. Backseat Driver and his comments. What?
Someone's by the car.
Of course. The one time he parks a mile away from the rooms. Really, Sandra? That's what you're going with for weapons?
Well, Dean never uses them.
Because throwing stars are as good of an idea as those films he makes you sit through.
Oh, put the demon blade away. It's our old partner in crime. Hey, I guess you're wanting to tag along again?
Well, come on in before Sam turns on the puppy dog eyes and makes me cave and bring him a salad, which I'm not going to do. I'm not a kale delivery system.
All right. Well, you know Dean's house rules in Baby. Driver picks the music, shotgun shuts his cakehole, and the ones in the back enjoy the ride, idling in the Impala.
Hope you like meatloaf.
For a snack?
Music. Sandra. Music. Hello, welcome to a podcast by and for lovers of supernatural and the fanfiction it inspires. I'm Carly.
And I'm Sandra, and for this episode of Idling in the Impala, Carly and I are very excited to have a conversation with this author. I can say that for me personally, her writing and exploration of Dean Winchester, his sensuality, his sacrifices, his insecurities is one of the main reasons I started on the path that has led me to falling head over heels for a fictional character. She's known on Tumblr as ThoughtsLikeAMinefield, and her main suit on AO3 is Incogninja. She's been posting fan fiction on AO3 since 2012 and has almost 160 works for a handful of fandoms, but the majority SPN focused, available for all to enjoy. So we wanted to give a big welcome and thank you to MJ for joining us today. So thank you, MJ.
Yay,
thank you
welcome.
for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So yeah, I will echo Sandra's sentiments about being a huge fan. I went back because I'm woefully unprepared. Long-time listeners will know that I'm woefully unprepared. So it was like about 2 hours before we were due to record, and I was like, oh, I should probably go and like find some fics or something. So I was like scrolling back through your works and because I was reading through and I was like, you've already left kudos here. You've already left kudos here. You've already left kudos here. So
that's
also
like at once the
fan.
most. That's at once like one of the most affirming, that also is such a big letdown things when you see you've already left kudos here and you're like, crap.
Yeah, especially when it's been a long time and you think, oh, that sounds awesome. I've never read that before. And you get to the bottom, it's like, I've already left kudos. And you're like, damn, how did I forget that one? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. We're gonna do like, it's all nice and informal and stuff like that, but Sandra, being the prepared human being that she is, has questions and stuff like that. She likes a list. You know, she likes a list.
I do.
So we'll kick off with the first one on the list, which is, when did your love of fan fiction start? Did it start with Supernatural or was it around before then?
So I am older. And so I was in junior high and high school, or what some people refer to as middle school and high school, in the 80s. And we used to have what kids referred to as slam books. And they were notebooks, and you would go in and put in like your name, your nickname if you had one, your hobbies, your favorite color, that kind of thing. And then it slowly started to evolve into, we would start writing things, and they're like short stories or just like a paragraph of something, and then somebody would kick off off of that. And so it was, I can remember, I think the first actual fan fiction that I ever wrote was for Duran Duran, because I was a big Duran Duran fan in the 80s. And so it was like, so RPF. And then it was 21 Jump Street. So Tom Hansen,
yes,
which is Johnny Depp's character. Yeah.
did one of those.
Yeah. So it'd be like, me and some of my girlfriends would be passing, or, and a couple of guys who would be passing around this slam book. And then in the front would be like, who's part of this book? And then the back would be creative work. So some people would draw, and some people would write stories, and some people would like write a scenario, and then somebody would add on to it. And so, that was kind of my first experience with fan fiction. And then my first ever experience with it. And then when I started really reading it was for X-Files. So like on the internet was early 90s, early to mid 90s. And it was like geosites and like these websites. So, it's nothing like we see now. So it's just like white screen and text, like, it's like,
yeah.
No graphics, no interactivity, like nothing, no way to leave comments or, anything like that. And then, so that was, early to mid 90s. And then it sort of evolved into, I started reading Buffy fic, and then people started, live journal became a thing where then you could really interact with people. Some people had their own blogs, so you could leave, comments and things like that on their fic. But it wasn't, quite like it is now. And then fanfiction.net, obviously. So I didn't start writing fan fiction and publishing it. I was always like jotting down little stories and scenes and things like that from, all the fandoms that I've loved through the years. But I didn't start publishing it and posting it and having feedback and interacting that way until I got into the Twilight fandom. So that was 2009. And when I was, everything I read and wrote for Twilight was all human. Like, the characters were just the names, you know what I mean? Like there's there was like no similarity to the actual. And that was the first time I really started posting anything. And so that was pretty much all on fan fiction. And then I progressively then moved everything over to AO3 once, people were able to join, which was like, I started, moving everything over there in like 2011 or 2012.
Wow.
But then I moved into The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Fandom. So I wrote for The Walking Dead for a few years, and I, ride or die Rick Grimes girl. But mostly wrote Daryl Dixon.
Yes.
Mostly wrote Daryl Dixon because I've loved Norman Reedus since I can remember, seeing him. The first time I saw him was in a Bjork video for Violently Happy. And he was just this really, just so interesting looking and, this androgynous kind of, again, it was the 90s. pretty blue eyes with lots of eye makeup, kind of thing. So I got into, all of his things that he did too. So, and then I kind of took a hiatus from fandom altogether for about 4 years. Because I had a very demanding job, and it was kind of one of these jobs where it was, people were just in and out of my office all day. And it was 2016, the summer of 2016. And it was in the midst of this hiatus that I'd taken from fandom altogether. Like I pretty much was just like Twitter, and that was pretty much it. Like I didn't use Tumblr much anymore. I wasn't reading or writing. And one of my girlfriends from the Twilight fandom was like, I still can't believe that you've never watched Supernatural. Like you're such a Buffy fan and blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, but I just feel like it's like Buffy with dudes. Like, why would I watch that? I'm like, it's already been done, and it's been done better. Like, why? And so I was like, so one of my girlfriends like challenged me. She was just like, come on now, just give it. Like, I just watched 4 episodes. Like, watch the first 4 episodes. I was like, whatever. And then, I'm like, okay, I'll think about it. And then it was like a double punch. Like then I have these 2 cousins who are like total nerds too. And they're both like, they both got me into The Walking Dead. Like they're usually the ones who get me into fandoms. And so within like 24 hours of this girlfriend of mine doing this, they were both just like, I still can't believe, like, you still, like, you have been doing nothing. You're not writing. You're not doing anything. You just need some new material. And so I was like, all right, fine. And so I started watching it. And the tweets are hilarious, first of all. Like, even now, like, my beta, who's cracks on the walls on Tumblr, she still reminds me of some of those tweets. Like, they were just really, really, really funny. Mostly brutal, but also really, like, I was surprised. I'm a horror fan. So I was surprised by how good it was. Like, just good, you know? And not what I expected. Not what I expected at all. So, and so I kind of just like slowly was watching it for a couple of years, about a year and a half. And then I had a hysterectomy in February of 2018. And when I was home for that 2 weeks, I was like, okay, I'm just going to catch up. Like, I'm just going to catch all the way up on it and just blow through it. And I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was hormones. I don't know if it was like the intensity of it, like watching, like, because I was binging it, you know, but I fell head over heels for Dean Winchester, and I couldn't, like, there was no turning back.
Sake.
Like, no turning back. So I was like, yeah, okay, you got me. And so that was February of 2018, and I wrote my first fic, which in fact was the first thing that I posted was a love triangle, or it ended up being a polyfic with the brothers. So I posted that first chapter, and it was May 4th. And then on May like 6th or 7th, I posted a Jensen, you know, real person fic. And then after that, it was just like downhill from there. Like, I just was constantly, I just didn't stop for like 2 years. It was just like, you know, crazy. So yeah, that's kind of the, in a nutshell.
So
wow.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like my experience with Dean, where so it doesn't sound like it was like an immediate thing, right? Like, it took time, and then you just kind of like binged, and then all of a sudden it was like, did a light bulb go off? Because that's kind of like what I felt happened with me. Like, I can't really explain it either.
Well, I'll tell you the moment. I will say,
we get the moment.
You know, it's not. Yes, I'll tell you the moment. So I loved him right away. Like, I loved him right away. Like, there's no doubt about it. I thought, you know, I'm older, so I kind of thought Sam was kind of a little shit and a whiner. But like, Dean was a little shit in a different way. Like, he was like that little shit who I was just like, I'm gonna smack you. Like, you know, like, he definitely an entertaining little shit, but not like, I wasn't like, you know, in love with him until it was honestly like, there were several moments for sure throughout several seasons where I was just like, this is a great character and this is a good show and all these things. But like I said, I had other things going on, and sometimes I'd walk away from it for a while. But so season 9, when he's in the compound with the angels, and he's in that room with Flagstaff. The table flip and the honey, there ain't no other man like me.
Yeah.
I was just like,
What do I call you?
My angelic name is 18 syllables long. Let's stick with Flagstaff.
Copy. So you knew this Oren guy?
We worked together at the hospital. He was a joy, bright, full of life.
Yeah, I hear he had a real explosive personality.
Do you think this is a joke?
You see me laughing? Is there anything else you can tell me about him? For example, why he'd light his own fuse?
No. Can I go? I have lives to save.
Welcome to the club. Something funny?
Not funny, haha. But you thinking you help people. It's amusing. I help people. Clogged artery here, tumor there. I do good in this world. You You believe every problem can be solved with a gun. You play the hero, but underneath the hype, you're a killer with oceans of blood on his hands. I hate men like you.
Honey, there ain't no other men like me.
Don't! Please!
Oren! Friends?
Constantine! And Tessa!
Tessa. The Reaper, Tessa?
I still get chills when I see that moment because I mean, we can talk more in depth about this later, and I'm sure that we will, but it was such a moment of clarity for me on who he thinks he is, you know? And I just couldn't see, like, that's such a performative moment. I mean, yeah, taught and all those things, but like, it's such a performative moment where he's just like, I am this badass. I'm this, you know, evil. I'm all the things that you're saying, but I'm the best of all of it. You know, I'm the best of the worst kind of thing. And I just can't get past that. Like, I still, like, I could write about him 100 more stories and thousands of more words, and I'll still never quite get to what I'm trying to get to with that. But that moment was the moment that I just was like forever in debt, like forever in love with him.
Oh, now Carly's upset.
I wish we never do cameras here, but I wish you could have seen my face. And I was like, this is really interesting, but also Sam Winchester is fucking heavy and I am sick of carrying him on my own, people. Good Lord.
No, there's plenty. What? There are tons of people. I feel like there are a lot of people out there who love Sam.
Yeah, none of them have come on the podcast so far, though.
Oh, but I will say this: I love writing Sam. I love writing Sam. So every time I've written him, I actually, and I have a really good friend of mine who I used to write with in the Walking Dead fandom, and he still, you know, reads a lot of my stuff. And like, every time I write anything, you know, every time I post any Sam, he's just like, man, you know, you get Dean's your wheelhouse, but you hit it. You hit it when you write Sam. Like, every time, I love your Sam. So I love writing him. I mean, honestly, like I said in the beginning of this big long thing, is that I think it's just that I'm older, and he just wasn't appealing to me in the beginning. You know what I mean? Because I was like, he just seemed like kind of a young, you know, I mean, he was a kid, right? So like, I just wasn't into him for, you know, the longest time. And anyway, that's it. But yeah, I mean, I think there's plenty to talk about there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Sam is my guy, 100%. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Dean. I have plenty of room in my life and my heart for Dean, but it's Sam for me. And I'm just so tired of people being like, oh my God, Dean Winchester. And I'm like, did you watch the same 15 I watched? Guys, he had a motherfucking arc. Come on now. I mean, so did Dean, but that's besides my point.
Yeah. You actually answered a lot of my questions, because I had looked into like timeline wise the different things that you'd written, like the real person, at least I could, from what I could tell, on AO3 that you'd written Wrecked, I think was like the first thing that you'd posted on AO3, which was the real person fic about Jensen. And then the next one was the One Night Only 23-in-1. So you get a lot of feedback from other writers, other readers. So is it kind of like prompts, or do you just kind of most of the time come up with your own idea and then just bounce it off somebody, or how does that usually work for you?
Both. There was a thing that I did in 2019. So it was the summer of 2019, and it was so much fun. And I've tried to recreate it a couple of times for flash fic. So it was really fun because I was also doing the kink bingo at the same time. And I don't like to, especially with bingos, unless somebody gives me a prompt where they're like, I'd like this sort of vibe, or I'd like this sort of scenario sort of thing. You know what I mean? But with bingos, I always like to kind of flip it on its head a little bit. So, like for example, I got a daddy square, and one of my best girlfriends from, back from Buffy fandom was like, all right, how about Ruby, 2, and Joe? And I was like, fuck yeah. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
And I just ran with that. I was like, yes. And so now they're like one of my favorite pairs. Like they never even fucking met on the show, but I was like, I love them. I love writing them. Like I've now written Ruby and Joe 3 times. Like I love them.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love them. So the flash fic was, I kind of just opened my box and said, just send me some ideas. And what I'll do is what I also did with most of the King Bingos. I'll just jam it out until I can't write anymore. And I'll read through it really quickly and I'll post it. So, there's not going to be any kind of like, words. Like it was at least like 300 or 500 words. Some of them were 1,000. And so some of those are like that, but normally I do come up with ideas on my own, or like I said, my beta Cracks in the Wall, she's so fucking great. And she's been with me for years, since Twilight, which that's a whole other story about how we met. She's so great. But she's, sometimes, every once in a while she'll just text me. She'll be like, what if this happened? And I'm like, oh shit. All right. I guess I'll just add that to my list. Like, so, and we all do that. I've got this, there's this chat group that I've got going on with a bunch of the other Twilight writers, and then couple of other folks I've known for years. And we all just like, we have a channel that's called Words. And so a lot of times it's stuff like if you're stuck on something, but sometimes it is just like, what if this happened, And then we all kind of start riffing on it. And sometimes someone writes it, sometimes they don't, but so that's kind of fun too. And normally I have at least Cracks in the Walls. Normally I have at least her see something before I post it. But it depends on what it is too. If I have somebody else look at it, like it depends on the content and then also who it is. So because I don't feel, even though a lot of people do like my Sam, because I don't feel like Sam's my wheelhouse, I will ask like Stu or Lou to look at it first, because I want to make sure that I'm in the right vein on those things. And I'll also, how you're trying to accomplish something, you're trying to, show, you're trying to tell a certain story, and maybe there's so much nuance that you're not sure if you're telling the story. So yeah, sometimes I'll be like, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. Am I doing that? Like,
I do that with Sandra all the time. The time. I'm like, and this though, I'm currently in the middle of not like a commission, but like a sort of a gift fic for Dandelion Dreams, who, God bless her, she came at me. I was like, what do you want? And she came at me with this huge ass list, which is, a lot of it is really outside of my scope as a writer, because I don't plot particularly well. So I keep going to Sandra and being like, I've written more, please tell me it's not dreadful.
Yeah. I love that though, don't you, Carly? Like, you're like, when somebody kind of gives you, not necessarily a challenge, but like, especially when you're doing it for someone else, because you put so much love into it, right? So you're kind of like, I really want to make sure I get all these things into this.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Yeah, I love that.
I did one for Sandra last year, which was a whole boatload of fun to write. And this one is a boatload of fun to write as well. It's just got a little bit more plot than I would usually put into things. So I'm just like, Sandra, I need you to tell me if it's too much. Is it making sense? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Because normally we join my characters in the bedroom, imminently about to start whatever we're doing. And this is like, there's a whole heap of like background and plot and stuff. And I was like, I have taken on too much. There's 3 characters and that's 1 character too many.
Yeah.
They're doing awesome with it. They're doing awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yes,
It'll
I know.
be finished sometime before her next birthday.
So the flash fic, I mean, are you giving yourself a certain, because I've seen the bingo stuff on Tumblr, but I've never really been, I don't know, it seems very daunting to me. I guess like because there's usually maybe a time frame. So the flash fic stuff, is that just like you're giving yourself a certain amount of time, like get this done, get this out, or are you giving yourself your own? Okay.
Yeah, so like I said, I did it in 2019, and we used to do in Twilight fandom on fanfiction.net, and like we kind of had, before Twitter was what Twitter is now, we kind of just used it as a chat room too. So we had a lot of stuff going on there too. But like, you know, we would do flash fic challenges, and sometimes we'd do prompts within groups, and we'd be like, all right, so here's the word for, you know, the week or today. Like once a week, we had a Thursday group where we're like, on Thursday, somebody would post a word, and then we all had to write something about it and then post it by Friday morning.
Oh,
and
wow.
so
That's great.
Yeah. And it was so, what was so great about it was, you know, that meme that it's like that one word can mean so many different things and everyone takes it a different direction. But the thing I love about flash fic is don't think, just write, you know, don't think, don't edit, don't think about what you're writing. Some of my favorite things that I've ever written came out of that flash fic and or the kink bingo that I did that same summer. So, you know, some of my very favorite pieces that I've written have all come out of that. And so much, a lot of fun, but also sometimes I go back and I'm like, where the fuck did that even come from? Like, where's my brain going? Like, really? You know? So, it's interesting, you know, to do that and then not edit it and not think about it and just share it, because, you know, then people are like, you know, it's just you know, it's just more raw and real, you know, it's not like packaged nicely or anything. So, and I love that.
I like that as well. Some of my favorite things I've done have been things I've whacked out in like a couple of hours and gone, yep, that'll do. And it goes out and I'm like, I fucking love that. Cause it's just, you overthink when you go back and edit, don't you? And like, should I do this? Should I do that? But if it's just straight out there and then you go, oh, that's how I was feeling on this day or that day. Or I totally get that. So I was thinking that would be really, go ahead.
No.
Oh, no, I was just thinking we could take that idea to D, Sandra, and then you said you're not allowed to edit it, MJ, and I was like, nope, she'd be out.
Yeah.
She'd be out immediately. She spends more time editing those things than she does writing them.
So not so much like typos, you know what I mean? Like for sure going back and like correcting it so it's readable, but not like, oh no, I need to expand that a little bit more, or oh no, I need to, what, you know, that needs to be like, there's none of that. Like you just read through it and make sure that punctuation and grammar and everything is, you know, correct, and then just post it. And it's just such a raw, well, first of all, it kind of gives me a rush. I love that feeling of just that vulnerability, you know, because it's like, this is just on the fly. So I love that. And then sharing it with people is like, this is me, you know, this is what you get.
Yeah, that's great.
And I also, so another one I wrote that wasn't part of that thing, but also one of my all-time favorite things that I've ever written is AKA, which is the first boys fic I wrote. And it's a butcher fic. And how that went down was, you know, it was after I had watched all of the first season. I can't remember, but I wrote it for, on Tumblr, he's known as Glass Jacket. It's one of my longtime best friends. And, we used to write together and, you know, he's into Sam. So this is who I was mentioning a little bit ago, but, I woke up one morning like 3:30 and I had this idea in my head and I just like went downstairs, opened my laptop and started typing and posted it.
Yes.
And, you know, and tagged him, and he woke up and he was like, what the fuck? Like, when did this happen? I was like, you're welcome. Like,
I couldn't sleep. So I did this. Yeah.
This is for you.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you when you do edit, do you usually go through a couple times, or is a lot of it just kind of like you said, just like the raw, or are there some fics that maybe were a little more challenging, maybe plot heavy, that you've kind of like worked a few times and gone through?
For sure. Yeah, usually one shots are just a kind of one and done. Like I don't really worry about it too much. I'll usually write those all in one sitting, or in just a couple of maybe a couple of days or something like that. When I'm at my best, when I'm actually writing, I'll usually just write it all in one sitting or within a few days or a week or whatever. And then I'll read through it sometimes. Sometimes I'll read through it before I send it to Brianna. But normally we've been together for so long that I don't really worry even about that too much, because I know she'll fix things that she knows that the way it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like she'll just fix it. Like grammar and punctuation, stuff like that. So that's not a big deal. But with series, for sure, there's multiples. And it's, what I really hate is things like, I have 2 right now that I was so excited about. And I really just am so disappointed that I've not finished them at this point, and that I don't know how to move forward. Well, one of them I do know how to move forward. I just don't want to do it.
Don't want to do it. You want somebody else to write it for you, right? It's like, look, I had all these thoughts in my head.
I don't want to do it so bad.
I don't want to do this. Yeah.
But like, sometimes like I've asked a couple people to go back through and read it just to make sure that I'm still being consistent. So, there's a lot of editing on that, and there's a lot of reading and having to go back and make sure that I'm not missing anything, because I'm not very good at outlines or anything. So, usually like I'll have like beginning, middle, and end in my head, but like I don't really have it all plotted out. So I don't know for sure if I'm closing all of the holes. I'm like, I need your help. So it's great, because I really like having, a couple people on, in this group that are really, they've read it, before too, and they're able to be like, oh, but what about that? Remember from chapter 3 or something like that. So, then it's not so difficult. But yeah, that's a lot of stress for me, because I'm always thinking, make sure you cover that, so there's a lot more editing things that go with that. But usually with one shots, it's just an idea that I had in my head, and I just kind of bang it out and then have Brianna go through it, and I post it.
Yeah.
It's usually pretty quick.
Yeah. See, that's why I only write one shots, because I just lack the ability to make a plot come together. I'm like, I'll give you a scene. I'll give you this one thing that's happening. But if you ask me to expand on this one thing that's happening, no. I just can't.
Yeah,
I just can't do it.
You probably don't lack the ability, but you're not getting paid for this. So
lack of incentive, maybe then.
Right. Time, incentive, all of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I think you were, MJ, one of the first authors I think that I really like. I think I found on Tumblr because of Dean Fick, and then on AO3. And I was really amazed by your one-shots, because I am quite the opposite from Carly. I probably do too much plotting, in certain aspects. So to me, reading those just scenes, but getting into the character was just like, oh my God. Like I know you've talked, you mentioned that Dean's your wheelhouse. Do you connect with him on a lot of levels, or is there just something inherently that you just get about him? Or like, I know you said you keep wanting to find out more about him, but what is it because you just write him so well. I love the ones where there's just a couple, I think just a few, or maybe there's just one, but like your POVs where it's like from Dean. I was just like, I think it's triptych. I just loved that one so much. And I didn't know if that was just a one shot or just an idea that came out. Like, how do I don't know. I just feel like certain authors just get him so well that it's like I just want to read everything. And it's there, and you've done a lot with his character. I mean, he's been in purgatory. There's been all sorts of different scenarios and situations and love interests and things. But even the cactus one that I think is a more recent one with him and Meg and Castiel, I was just like, I'm just floored by those things. So I mean, please tell me tell me where that comes
Tell us your
from.
ways.
Well, I do feel I feel connected to him, and as a character, I feel like I understand a lot of his motivations. I'm a lot like him emotionally. I'm a lot like him. I have a lot of similar reactions. I have a lot of similar regrets. I have so there's a lot of that. There's a lot of me kind of projecting onto him. But I also just feel like there's so much potential with him as such a multi-layered character. And I love that you just brought that up, that there were so many different scenarios that I put him in. And I feel like I've always got the core of what I don't want to lose about him. But he's different in every scenario. Like he's different with every different person. He's different, he's different with, in different, environments. And he's, he is whoever he wants to be, whoever he wants them to think he is, I guess, is really where I'm going with that. So I like that. And I like to play with that a little bit. Triptych, I'm glad that you mentioned that. That was a Patreon prompt from when I took that down. And that came from somebody who's actually on Tumblr also. But, and the prompt was, we've seen a lot of Winchester threesomes. Like you've done a lot of, I've done a lot of Winchester threesomes, but would you ever consider two women? And I was like, yeah, how can I do that? And again, it was one of those things where I talked to, my co-writer, my friends, writer friends. And I wanted to, I wanted it to be something that progresses that concept along a little further. So I didn't want it to be, like the Doublemint twins or something, what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was like,
I
wanted something that was that was really telling something, So I thought, and I love creating original characters too, even if it's just for, even if it's just for a one shot. I like creating original characters. So that was great. And I'm able to kind of pull too from my own experiences, my own life. So I, a lot of times the original characters that I create are people that I know, or at least I have, pieces of people that I know.
Right.
And so I loved writing that. That's for sure one of my favorites too.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how, like giving, and again, maybe that's just why I love him. I'm going to say it, just why I love him so much. I feel like he does give so much of himself. And even in that situation, like he knew what he was there for and he was going to enjoy it, but he was also going to make sure the two ladies were taken care of and got what they wanted out of it too. And just the way he adored them was just so, again, just like a reflection of, I think, what he wants and doesn't always get. And maybe that's like the one area where he can get that. And it's just, just so great. Like I said, I really do. I feel like you helped me see more of that character and then build on that a lot too, because he's, can be very broken as can Sam, but in very different ways. Like they're both broken.
For sure.
And it's just, but how they project it and how they express it. Like he can be very playful where, I don't always necessarily get that, with Sam and
no, carry on, Sandra. It's fine. You're already in the hole, mate. Just keep going.
No,
so I think
because we're going to talk about the other stuff too.
To be fair,
I was going to say
when you were, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think that you're kind of touching on where I went with the kind of girl you like was, you know, like, she's Sam's girlfriend. And when she compares them later, like when she's telling Sam, you know, he's kind of, you know, feeling like, well, maybe I'm not giving her everything she needs, kind of thing. Right. And she's like, but no, it's just, you know, he's just different. You know, he's like the best playmate, you know, you give me structure and he's fun, you know? But I feel safe and secure with both of you. And I think that's one of the reasons why I even started writing any Winchester threesomes or poly anything, is because I wanted to do that comparing and contrasting, and to illustrate what is so great about both of them to the world, but, you know, on a much smaller scale, obviously. So it's like, these women that they're in relationships with can say these things, but it's on a bigger scope when we're watching it on television. And when we think about them as characters, you know, so what are the things that they can do and lend to a relationship or a situation? And the fact that they just complement each other, you know? And so that's always what I'm going for with those threesomes. They're just so much fun to write. They're really fun.
No, and they're very fun to read.
They are excellent to read. I was going to say, while you guys were like, oh, Dean, he's so giving and he's so unselfish and things like this. And I was sitting there and I was about to jump in and be like, yes, because Sam is notoriously very selfish. And then I was like, wait, no, actually, no, he kind of is in the show. So I will just shut up.
No, but there's the balance, like you're saying. Yeah, there's a balance there. Yeah.
Well, I think that there's also something really important about that, that he appears to be selfish. And there's also some ways to use that to show, you know, to illustrate the great things about his character. So I feel like I use that a lot, you know, the fact that he's a little bit hard-nosed, he's stubborn, he wants things his way, you know, and I think that that's an important character trait of his to not deny, but instead to use it in a really effective tool to tell his story and to help him navigate any kind of landscape and scenario, because he has to be that, you know, he has gotten to the point where he's had to be that in order to keep his sanity, probably, but to survive. So I think that's a really important part of his character.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does lead you to some wonderful, wonderful scenes that you can put Sam as a Dom character and make him be a little bit harsher, a little bit, you know, stricter than Dean would ever be.
Because he doesn't get that in real life. Like, really, like in the scenario with Dean, he's usually the one that's kind of, you know, little brother. And so I think that, again, when they give of themselves to each other, I think that's when they'll flip it, you know. And then I think it's like Dean's like, okay, this is where he gets to, you know, make the choices, you know, at least like when they're together. I think that's what I get, you know, from the stories, is that, you know, he's getting that permission to do that, you know, and he's going for it, and he's embracing all of it. When you mentioned the kind of girl you like, that was one of the ones I had noted too, because it's just so, because that one's all from Sam's perspective, and he's you know, seeing it and questioning, but then also, like, you know, enjoying and then having the discussion, but then allowing it to kind of continue and being okay with where we're at with this situation, and does it keep going, and it could be beneficial, you know, I think, for all involved. So I don't think I've read that. AO3 may make me a liar with that lovely red. I've already left kudos here, but I don't think I've read that one. I read you need to
Wait Until My Brother. I'm loading it up now. I read Wait Until My Brother Gets Home this afternoon. And then that was the one that was like, you've already left kudos here. And I was like, it seemed vaguely familiar, but not like, I don't remember coming to this before now. But as Sandra brought the sort of Sandra's sort of favorite picks are all Dean focused because of course they are. So in the interest of balance, I obviously brought Samfics because you have my favorite tag on AO3 for one of your works. Well, it's for a series, but it was for the second one in the series, I think. And it's absolutely is one of my favorites, and it's Sam handling. And it's fucking great. From I Won't Let You Fall Apart, the series. I think it's the second work in that. But when I saw that, and I posted in our group chat, and I was like, there's a name for my king. Somebody has found a name for it. It's not a size thing. It's a Sam handling. Yeah. And I have yet to use it in any of mine, but it's genuinely like one of my favorite of all time tags.
So I got to tell you, that was a note on that story, because that was definitely workshopped. So that was something that like I had probably 3 or 4 people in that document. So that was for sure like one that people were like dropping comments and, you know, things like that. So, cause that was just it started, that first chapter started as a depressive episode that I was in. And and it was, of course, well, it was based on something real, but, so I wrote it out and, left it for, I don't know, 2 months. And then I opened it one day because I was like, what is this? Like, it was untitled. I was, what the fuck? So I opened it. I'm like, God, why do I have all these untitled documents? Like, what is happening? So I go into my Google Docs and I open it and I was like, what is this? And so then I was like, oh, this could be good. So I kind of, I expanded it a little bit and I cleaned some of it up and I, you know, because it was this very, I don't know, this very morose, like ridiculous MJ's in a depressive episode thing. So I was like, all right, let's make this into something. Like, let's make this productive.
Yeah.
So it ended up being, I thought it was just going to be one chapter. And then, so have you guys read anything from It Might Have Been Intentional on Tumblr?
No, I don't use Tumblr.
Think so. Yeah.
And I can't remember. I'm trying to think. She's one of my longtime best friends from Boondock Saints fandom and from The Walking Dead. But I can't remember what she posts on AO3 as right now. But that was her. That was one of her notes. It was like she highlighted something and then in all caps she was like, Sam handling, and I was just like, that is so great. So now I use it. I mean, you know, it's so typical. It's so great. I was like, now I use it for my Sam fix.
Yeah, because that's the perfect word for it, because it's not a true kind of, I think, and also thank you, Dandelion Dreams, for ruining any other associated kinks with Sam's size. She lives to torment me. But I was like, it's not the size thing, it's not the size difference, it's specifically him doing that Sam handling. Love it.
Yeah, for sure.
Love it.
Yeah.
So I brought a couple of others as well, and I will let Sandra go and do hers as well. So Let the Melody Shine is another one of my favorites. That's like a Dom Sam, but it's a male, and it's nothing particularly explicit, but I just really like that, because I like if you've read any of my stuff, I like playing with putting Sam in dominant roles. I like putting him in submissive roles as well, but I really do like that because I think he has that kind of energy. And then I was into that. Absolutely. Same kind of thing. First things first. Fucking love that. Yeah. Really, really good. Because I've done a similar thing with Dean where I was like, I'm this. And then at the end, he was like, I'm fucking this. So I was really, really enjoyed that. So they were the ones. Oh, Watch Me as well. But that plays into a few of my own personal kinks. That's not so much Sam. That's just kind of fun. Like, yeah, that one was good. And I had Wait Until My Brother Gets Home, which Sandra has already discussed. So, you know, everybody listening, go read those ones if you're a Sam fan. I'm not going to bring you anything Dean. These guys bring enough Dean. I'm only bringing Sam from now on. No more Dean fics.
Well, wait till my brother gets home is Sam and Dean, but
yeah. Yeah, but like I read that one and then I was like, yeah, okay. And then I was talking to Sandra at the same time and I was like, I'm only bringing Sam shit because you're just going to bring loads and loads of Dean stuff. And she's like, yeah, I am going to do that. And I was like, good, right, fine.
Yeah,
it's like using the AO3 category sorters to just fill out all the Dean and be like, only Sam stuff.
That's why Carly is here, to make sure that, you know, we give Sam his moment. Yeah, because I can't help it.
Yeah, no, I know. But I was going to tell you so do you like Donna?
So I have Where Is My Shiny Gun as one of the ones that I really liked. Yes. That I don't know if Carly has read or not, but
I haven't read that one.
Yes.
I would be curious, Carly, what you thought of that, because that was one that was really fun for me. And it was surprisingly not very challenging. I was really surprised that it rolled off as easily as it did, because when I go back and look at it now, I'm kind of like, where did this come from? You know?
Yeah.
So I would be interested for you to look at that for sure, Carly, because as a Sam fan,
I will go and add that to my reading list and I will drop a comment on that. And we'll see if it gives it won't give me the red kudos banner because I know I haven't read that one. But
that's a Sam POV one too, right? Like I think it's all from Sam. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is.
Yeah.
I haven't read every single Samfic on the site, guys. There's fucking loads.
No,
I'm like 75%, but some of them slip through the net, you know?
No. But one of the things that I liked about that one was where it's like Sam looking in and again trying to make sense. I think it's on a lot of levels of like his relationship with Dean, but then Donna and I really like Donna with Dean anyway. So it was kind of like the best of like everything in that piece of fiction. So so we are of like, because Carly and I, like, we're both kind of like, we're good with like Destiel, Wincest, kind of like, you know, across the board, like either way, it's like not really one thing, or the other, but I think I'm kind of drawn to some of the ones that are more, I think you call them Wincesty, like not full on Wincest, just like a little bit. Yeah. Wincest adjacent. There we go. Yeah. Because again, it's more about their overall relationship. And it's just so kind of fascinating, that codependency.
Yeah. And that was,
yeah,
I think that was the one that was the closest. That was the one that was when I actually started using that tag, because I was like, this is arguably it's borderline, like, so that's why I wanted to at least tag it that, because I'm really sensitive to it. And I don't want to be, you know, reading along something and then all of a sudden have something happen if it's not tagged, you know, because everybody has a different opinion of what that is. So, I think that one for sure was probably the most adjacent that I'd ever done. I'm trying to think of, I mean, they're all there's so many of the threesomes that are kind of, you know, skirt around that, but I think that one's the closest to that, you know.
That's genuinely such a relief to hear you say that, because my work in progress is a threesome, and Dandelion was very clear. She was like, no incest, only me. This is my show, only me. So I'm writing it out, and then I'm like tagging Sandra in comments on Google Doc, like, is this too Wincesty? You're getting Wincest vibes from this. She doesn't want Wincest vibes. Like, I don't care about Wincest vibes. I probably would see more Sam stuff if I stopped sorting by Sam and Dean. But no, I was like, is it too much? Is it getting weird? Am I making it weird?
Am I making it weird?
Yeah. Well, because I was like, I don't know. It's quite difficult if you're going to put them in the same, like, together in a sexual situation, even if you're not going to have anything happen between them. They have that kind of vibe and that kind of dynamic and that kind of relationship that you're like, you could squint at it and see it in most situations. So I was like, am I making this weird? I need you to tell me.
And normally Well, yeah. I mean, normally I can do it just fine without there being that, but I feel like sometimes there's a little bit of so which trying to think. Oh, and then there were three. So that was the first one that I wrote. The first Winchester or first Winchester, sorry. Back up. That was the first Winchester threesome that I wrote. And so there's a part though where Sam being in charge of everything tells Dean to watch his mouth. And it's like this whole thing where it's like, the only reason that you're not gagged is because she likes to hear you talk. And I know somebody was like, it's like a comment was like, is this incest? And I'm like, I don't know. Is it? Like, that's up to you to decide. Like,
you tell me. I mean?
Yeah. I don't write it. I don't intentionally write it like that, but I can totally see that happening. That exact thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see them that way, like full on, anything like that. But I do see that line crossing and that adjacent aspect of it is something that I definitely incorporate. And I can absolutely see that kind of thing happening,
Yeah.
So
I honestly cannot wait to go and read that now, because that kind of thing reminded me, I believe the author is called Spectacular Sammy. And they have like a whole series of like pretty aggressive, heavy dom Sam. And then like the reader is like the sub, obviously. But they bring Dean in quite a few times, and Sam's very sort of domineering over Dean as well. And it's not Wincest in any way. But it's, I'm weirdly into that. I'm learning things about myself tonight that I thought I knew, but I didn't. So I am weirdly into that. Yours sounds slightly less heavy than that series is, though. It's really, there's a lot of BDSM stuff in there that I'm not a huge fan of. So I'm not excited to go and read that either before I go to sleep or in the morning. Oh, good. That's a great segue though into tags. When you mentioned you don't like to see things in fics that aren't tagged appropriately. I'm exactly the same. So, what kind of tags? Is there any tags that you click regardless of what the story might be? You're like, yep, that. Or ones that you're like, oh no, never that.
I actually don't search things by tag as much as I used to. And I don't even remember. I mean, and also the way I use tags on EO3 is probably not really the way they're supposed to be used. Like, I make shit up, like I don't even know sometimes, like some of the tags that I've made up.
Dean's really good at sex is one of them. Which
Dean's really good at sex. That's what I like to use. That always, I'm just like, that's just a go-to, right? Like,
yeah. It's a given. I do that as well. I make up my own tags. I didn't realize how many I made up until I had to retag, or not retag, but I was posting a podfic. So I had to like copy my tags, and I was like, half of these don't exist. What were you doing?
Were you just talking to yourself? That's what I'm doing. I'm just like, I'm like making stuff up. And then I'm like, no one's going to read these. Really, all I'm doing is, amusing myself, because that's, no one's going to search this, but it is, it's amusing to me. Let's see. I won't read anything that's tagged Wincest just because it's not my thing. And I don't really get into, anything that's like, no non-con or I usually stay away from dubious consent too, because some people don't quite understand what that means. And I just don't want to walk into a rape fic. It's just not my bag. So, so I usually just kind of stay away from a lot of that. I don't know. As far as tags go, I don't really use them to look for things. So I should more, but I don't so much anymore than I used to.
I don't really use them. I don't use them to look for things unless I'm in a specific mood, but I do have tags that, like, you're just scrolling down the page and you think, oh, that looks mildly interesting. There are tags in there that if I see and I'm like, nope, not even Not even a little bit for that one.
Not even a little bit. Yeah.
Not even a little bit. And I do have my automatic filters on to take out like anything that's tagged as underage and stuff like that. Just squicks me out hugely.
Yeah.
Are there any like tropes that you kind of like really love or hate, like when you are like searching or wanting to read something, or does not even like a thing?
I love, probably my favorite is enemies to lovers, or friends to lovers. I like that too, but enemies to lovers is like my favorite. And I think it was Last Action Trisha shared in our group chat one day, like, you know, a meme that somebody had written. I think she found it on Tumblr or Facebook, I don't know. And it was like, I think that enemies to lovers is my favorite trope because, you know, the person who ends up falling in love with you has seen you at your worst. And I was like, yes, I love that, you know? So
yeah. I like that. I do like that. I've seen that meme around as well. It's nice. It's nice.
I do. I like enemies to lovers for sure. There are some that I just don't really care much about, but I don't really hate anything. I'm pretty much just like, not my thing. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else in particular that I'll drop everything and read it. Mostly I'll drop everything and read for certain people. You know what I mean? Like if I see somebody's posted, it's not so much like what the content is. It's like that person, I really like their writing. So I'll, you know, if something updates or, you know, if they've posted something, I'll read it.
Do you have any recommendations for certain people that we should? We probably are reading them, but
yeah. So, I think, you know, we've already talked about Steve's Bunker and There Must Be a Lock. Little Green Plastic Soldier.
Yes.
I love. It might have been intentional. Wayward and Worn is just like, I love her. Okay, so Marksman Femme. So it's marksman, like a shooter, marksman, Femme, F-E-M, all one word.
Okay.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah. Dean Winchester's Witch. I don't know what their name is on AO3. I'm trying to think of who else has been writing. So some people I love just haven't written in a while.
Yeah.
Like myself. I mean, that just happens. So I don't want to leave anybody out, but you know, some people just aren't coming to mind right now.
It's cool. If you think of anything, just drop it over to Sandra and we'll bob it in the description
all right.
Or
perfect.
Yeah.
You know, we can always add it in.
So I just want to ask one more thing, and then we're going to let you get to all of your wonderful stuff. I just want to ask you a little bit about the fic Rules Are Rules, because that is, again, one of my favorites. The whole Marka Kane, Dean, and all that. Is any particular nugget you could share about that one? Was that a prompt too, or did
it was? So initially, So it initially came from I'm glad you brought that up. So that was Adopt Don't Shop Pets. That's their name on Tumblr and on AO3. They don't write.
Okay.
But it was for a fundraiser for a woman trying to get out of a domestic abuse situation.
Okay.
And yeah, so that was the prompt came from that. Actually, no, I'm sorry. The initial prompt came from them. I'm looking it up right now because I'm trying to remember if the initial prompt also came from her, because yes. Okay. So it was a picture prompt for that flash fic that I was talking about, the flash fic thing that I was doing.
Yeah.
And it was a picture of a guy's back and he's in the shower and the guy looks like Dean. So the prompt was from her and she was like, for your 500 plus celebration, I think someone needs to help Dean with his shower. So it started as that. And so it was just like a quick, like 500 words.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the, it looks like I actually haven't updated it on, there is a second chapter. Never mind. Okay. So on AO3, the second chapter was because we were doing a thing for a fundraiser for a woman getting out of a domestic abuse situation. So she asked me, Adopt Don't Shop Pets asked me to expand it.
Okay.
And so I did. And so it started as just this, like, you know, trying to help him while he's in the shower. But the thing, is I just started thinking about it, and I was like, he looks so tense. Like the picture, he just looked tense, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like imagining him being very just wound up, but not in a typical Dean way, you know? And so I thought about it being a Mark of Cain situation. And I'm not sure what else to say about it.
No,
really.
just that it's great. I just wanted to know where that came from. That's great. So if we could get your permission to read one of them in full, is there one that you'd like us to read, or that I would read? Because I'd really love to be able to read.
No idea.
So would we be able to
I don't read.
Yeah.
You can do anything. I don't really have, like, I can't think of anything in particular that I would want you to read.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll have a think then on it, because I have a lot to choose from.
Well, you actually, you were in our very first episode, the first Canon Fodder we did. Sandra brought your fic, Hide Your Love Away. So we were thinking if we could do a full read of that, that would be freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I say we.
Sure.
Sandra does it. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't do that. She does it, and then she makes the art, and she does the descriptions and everything else, and then she goes, "Can you just put this in a video?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course, I'm helping. Yes,
I'm helping." I love that. I love that one too, and that was like, that was one of those deep in my feelings about Dean Winchester kind of fics, you know. That and like, I also. Oh man, I'm losing my mind. Oh, Crazy on You. Another one where I was deep in my feelings about Dean.
Yeah.
It's a theme. We can tell.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's kind of hard not to be when I don't know what my problem is, but that's just where I go.
Yeah.
So,
I think a lot of us have that problem, so it's not a bad problem. But I don't think.
Yeah, and if it is, you're in good company.
Yeah, because I really do feel like he and it sounds so weird to say, but it's kind of like he helps me figure things out about myself. You know what I mean? And that I love that about him. I love that he's a constant, that I forget whatever happens on the show. He's my constant, you know, like I can pull from that. And that's almost like a guardian angel, I guess, situation, but a really sexy guardian angel that can help with all sorts of things. So it's kind of that kind of deal. But yeah, no, we're not going to keep you because I know you've got stuff to do. And I'm just so thankful that you came and talked to us about your fiction, you know, all the different stuff that you've been involved in. I hope maybe you've got, you know, you get a little bit of a spur or like a spark to, you know, get back to writing a little bit whenever you can, even though it sounds like you're very busy, but there's always going to be somebody who's going to be wanting to read anything that you write. So just know that, you know, you've done a great service to all of us, and we're really appreciative of it. Yes, really,
very much truly. So.
Well, I really appreciate you doing this because it does give me the sense that I'm not just kind of putting stuff out there for nothing. You know, I don't need, you know, I write for myself. I do, for sure. I mean, it kind of runs the gamut. Like I was just thinking about like the Demon Dean fics that I've written are just like so not Dean that I know and love, you know? So just so off the grid, but it helped again. It's like that helping with the exploration and understanding things about myself and, you know, and that purgatory fic that you were talking about. So I like to hear back that that's doing that for other people too.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you guys, you know, having me on here and doing this, because I think it's such a great aspect of community and, you know, and fandom.
Yeah.
I love that. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll talk to you both at some point later.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Speak to you soon.
Have a good one.
All right. Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm going to read Hide Your Love Away, and we'll include that as a ramble on rather than sticking it in here. And if anybody's interested in our thoughts on that one, it was the very first episode. It was our test drive that we picked that one to talk about a little bit. And I did a little bit of a reading for that. So since it's late, Carly's been a trooper. We're going to wrap up. So we're going to just talk about some ways that you can contact us, because we're getting really excited and we want to have a whole bunch of people come on so we can talk about fanfic more and stop thinking about all the sad things in real life. So if you want to reach out to us, you can email us at idlingintheimpala@gmail.com. At Twitter, we are idlingin_D_Impala. And if you want to read some of my stuff on AO3, I am Drasna. If you want to reach out to me on Twitter, it's skylewrites, SKYLEWRITES. And my website where you can find some of my original fiction is at sandrakyle.com.
I need you all to know she has it written out as well.
I do.
We do this outro every single episode, and she got it written out. She's like, Twitter, idling, the letter D.
The letter
in
D.
brackets,
I have it. Yes.
The Impala.
Yes. I didn't want to mess up.
I only saw it today. I did only see that when I was going through the June meeting agenda, and I was like, oh my God, it's there. So, yeah, if you guys want to reach out to me, I am Carly Karma on AO3. I make this joke every time. She tells me off if I don't make it. However you think that's spelled, it's not, I promise you. It's K for Kilo, A for Alpha, R for Romeo, L for Lima, E for Echo, E for Echo, and then Karma as you would spell it normally. I'm exactly the same on Twitter, Carly Karma. Same profile picture in both places. So just in case you think, hey, I wonder if there's two people out there with a weird spelled name, same profile picture, it's probably me. Don't forget as well, guys, to take a look in the descriptions, especially with on the day that this was actually recorded. It was the day after the Supreme Court ruling for Roe versus Wade in the USA. So don't forget to check the description for links to some voting information, and, you know, sort of how to educate yourself if you need to for the USA. There's some links. I know a lot of people are talking about how this affects women, and it really does, but it's going to affect quite a lot of trans men and quite a lot of non-binary people as well. If you're LGBTQ and you want to reach out, you want some support, there's links in there for the USA and UK support places that you can contact and get help. And as always, there's links in there for if you can and you're willing to support people affected by the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So while you're down in the description looking for fic recommendations and all that fun stuff, just take a look at that if you need it as well, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Carly, thank you. This was fun, and we will do this again soon. So thanks for listening, everybody. Yeah. And I guess you'll hear from us later. Hopefully we hear from you guys too.
Thank you for listening. Drop us a message. Do you read anything by MJ? Thoughts Like a Minefield, Incog Ninja? Is she one of your favorite authors? Drop a message, give us some love. Don't forget, if you go and read any of her fics, to give them a kudos, leave her a comment, you know, all that good stuff. But thank you very much for listening, and we will see you again soon, guys. Bye.
Bye. If 3 different types of pie can't tear him away from the television, nothing will. God, I hope the movie's done by now.
All I know is I am deserving of some hair care tonight.
By hair care, you mean running your fingers all through Sam's.
Absolutely.
Well, Baby's back safe and sound, and we've got some boys to see.
Thanks for coming along for the ride. Who knows? Maybe next time we'll give you the keys to take her for a spin.
Where's the pie?
Look at these chemicals. You even read the label?
No, I read pie. The rest is just blah, blah, blah.